continue borrowing ensures the fact that they will never pay back the debt, and they will be slaves in the New World Order forever. Those of you who have called my hotline in Los Angeles and wondered why I kept tagging on to the end, and this is exactly what my hotline says, folks. And by the way, that number is area code 310-281-8222. 310-281-8222. At the end of the messages that I leave there, I always make this statement, quote, "For those of you who are helping me in this fight, God bless you. For the rest of you, you're going to get exactly what you deserve. You're going to be slaves in the New World Order." Unquote. This was not an arbitrary statement by me. It is a statement of fact. When the United States government is forced to declare bankruptcy, and it will be forced to declare bankruptcy, and all of you are thinking about our children are going to pay back the national debt, or their children, or their great-great-grandchildren, it can never happen, folks. It can never happen. Because it's not just the government. You see, every time the government borrows, it has to pay back interest. And every time each one of you borrow, you have to pay back interest that was never, ever in the history of the world created. It doesn't exist. And are you ready for this? There's a third way that they've been stealing from us. You see, it's called fractional reserve lending. The Federal Reserve Bank allows fractional reserve lending. What this means is they can lend out as much as 10 to 1 or more based upon funds held in reserve. So a Federal Reserve Bank could, if they wanted to, and they do want to, and they do it frequently and have done it often, and it has resulted in a terrible thing. Say a Federal Reserve Bank has $1,000 on account in reserve. Now remember, this is not even real money. It's the fiat Federal Reserve notes to begin with, counterfeit. This bank can now loan out $10,000 as a bookkeeping entry, which it doesn't even have, and it's issued in the form of credit against the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, let's say they want to raise their assets in reserve so that they can loan out more money. They merely require the person that they loan this money to keep that money on deposit in their bank. So if they loan him $10,000, only $1,000 really exists now, and that's the fiat Federal Reserve notes, the counterfeit money. They require him to redeposit or to deposit this $10,000 in their bank. So he does this. They now have, as a bookkeeping entry, $11,000 as assets deposited in that bank. They can now loan out $110,000 against that $11,000 in assets. And again, if they want to be able to have more on reserve to loan out, all they have to do is require that whoever laid the loan the $110,000 to redeposit it in the same bank. And now folks, they can loan out $1,100,000 based upon an original reserve of $1,000. And this has been compounded so much over the entire Federal Reserve System that I'm going to tell you right now there is no money in the banks. Our banks are insolvent. Over the last year, over 500 banks have folded. Just in the last year. The entire savings and loan system has crumbled. Now, you think your deposits are safe because of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC? And you think your deposits are safe because of the FDSLI? Well, they're not, folks. And those are not agencies of the United States government either. You've all been fooled. You think because it says federal that it's an arm of the government and it's backed by the government and you can't lose your money? You're wrong. You not only can, but you will lose your money. You're going to. It doesn't matter what you do. And if all that you can think of is saving your assets, I can guarantee you you're going to lose your ass. And I don't mean the four-legged one out in the barnyard, folks. The only way to save your assets is to save the Constitution, is to force the traitors who are sitting in Congress to audit the Federal Reserve. And the only answer to this entire problem, I can guarantee you, is to nationalize the Federal Reserve, declare all of those who have had a hand in the ownership or the creation of the Federal Reserve to be criminals, arrest them, seize all of their assets, and issue United States notes, non-interest notes, while we build up our reserves of gold and silver so that we can once again mint constitutional money. If we are not willing to do this, if we will not do it, then we are doomed. And there is no way out other than what I have just told you. And I'm the only one in this country who's got the guts to tell it to you, because anyone else who's ever tried has been murdered by these creeps. And they all belong to secret societies. It is not a Jewish plot. It is not a Catholic plot. It is not a plot by the blacks or the Poles or the Protestants or anyone else. These men belong to secret societies. And this problem is as old as man. You see, the first international bankers ever in this world were known as the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar were rounded up in France only and arrested by King Philip. On November the 22nd in the year 1307, Pope Clement V issued a papal bull condemning the Knights Templars to torture. That's the same date of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas, which is on the 33rd parallel, by the way. Dealey Plaza is on the 33rd parallel. In Dealey Plaza, there's a plaque commemorating the location of the first Masonic temple in the state of Texas. And he was shot once in the back at the approximate location of the heart, in the throat, and in the head, the exact same wounds suffered by Hiram Abiff in the Masonic initiations. If you visit Dealey Plaza, you will see the four quarters of a Celtic temple and an obelisk with a flame on the top. These are all the symbols of an outdoor temple of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, the worship of an ancient religion, Baal, the light, the sun, Lucifer, Osiris, Satan, all the same. Kennedy was in the process of printing United States notes. Freemasonry was infiltrated and taken over by the Knights Templars as they fled the persecution of the Pope and the kings of Europe. The international bankers today are the Knights Templars, folks. And the arm through which they operate is Freemasonry, the Rosicrucians, the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, and many other organizations which appear to be outwardly fraternal organizations existing for the good of the community, but I can assure you they are not. This country is being destroyed from within by those who belong to these secret societies. And if you doubt this, folks, if you doubt this, if you don't understand what I'm telling you, and if you're not willing to go look to find out if it's true, if you're not willing to study, the destruction of this country and the enslavement of its people are a certainty, and it is now imminent. Imminent. Stop fighting each other. Stop fighting each other. You must understand who the enemy is. You must understand what we have to do to stop what's coming. You must begin to learn about real economics and real money, and you have to understand that no matter what they do to the price of oil, it will never result in inflation.